Would you trust AI to direct a scene, to create your budget or your shot list, or even select your cast? Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In the last two episodes of our brief series about AI and filmmaking, we talked about what the role of AI has been so far in filmmaking and in media creation. And then our second episode focused on, can we tell God-honoring stories with AI? So now in this episode, we're going to discuss what are the pros and cons about using AI on set and what role it could possibly play, and should it? Let's get into it. Already we've seen AI used in a variety of different positions across the different stages of production. In pre-production, there's AI systems like Studio Binder and casting call creators, and it can be used to generate shot lists, location lists. I mean, if it comes to lists, AI is amazing at generating very quick lists based on the information you give it. So pre-production, it can also give you visual concepts. As I mentioned in previous episodes, I've used it to create concept art. And you could use AI to create like a full mood board for like your wardrobe, any potential visual effects shots you may do. There's a whole list of potential opportunities that you could have AI generating these things for you. And it only takes one person inputting those potential prompts to create those images. So a lot of pre-production positions, you could almost say, could easily be eliminated by using AI. And that's the tricky thing to be aware of. Now, mind you, that's if you're dealing with like a bigger budget and a bigger crew. More positions are potentially at risk. It's a different perspective when you're an independent micro budget producer and you only have maybe you doing the pre-production. Maybe you have one or two other people handling very specific needs that you have. But if it's just you doing a lot of the planning, AI could be a great assistant in helping you generate all these different items that help you stay organized, but also give you a better, clear vision of what you ultimately want to do once you get on set. In terms of production, we've seen AI used in a whole variety of ways. Probably one of the most famous examples right now is the virtual volume stages you see popping up all over the country. Probably made the most famous by its use in the Star Wars show, The Mandalorian, with its almost 360-degree volume stage, where it was all screens that are using AI-driven video game engine technology, such as Unreal Engine, to create these backgrounds that are changing and updating in real time as the camera moves through in the scene, tracking the backgrounds to match the camera movement, and it's keeping certain things in focus, keeping the lighting conditions. It is mimicking the camera movement, even the focus of how it should look based on the lens that is attached to the camera. All that data AI is using to make the scene feel immersive and completely in sync with the subjects walking on the stage. AI has also been used in altering certain actors' appearances in terms of making them look younger, eliminating wrinkles, or helping them even sometimes look not like themselves if it calls for them to be some sort of creature or an alien. So AI is already being used in full effect during the production phase, but it's in a lot of visual effects related positions where people have had to change their knowledge and stuff like that. So now when you're on a set that has a virtual stage, where it used to be a bunch of visual effects artists in the post-production phase all working on computers, now you have a whole army of people at computers during production all working to generate the screen. And you also have people who have to understand how the actual screen technology works, how to fix a panel if an LED panel goes down. So the jobs have changed and the timing of when they come into play have changed. And already you see a whole group of workers having to adapt to those conditions. But a lot of the positions during shooting are still human reliant. You see these viral videos online of like robots moving cameras and stuff like that. And while we have really great tools like drones and gimbals and stuff like that, seeing a robot very roughly move a camera, that doesn't really, at least from my perspective, worry me. I think we're still a ways away from that happening. But realistically, there are a lot of positions that, from the mechanical side of things, where AI could be used to be programmed to move things like that. And there are some like programmable like robotic arms where you see them move very fast. They kind of like go vroom, 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 and they can do very programmed moves, and they can, you can just reset and repeat. Someone still has to program that move though. It still takes a director of cinematography to approve the move, to come up with the move in their head, and it takes a director to make sure that is working within the story and the visuals and the overall story that they're trying to tell. So there are some positions that are having to definitely integrate AI into their workflow, but from what I'm seeing with production, especially again independent productions, we're on a different level. We're not really affording the kind of budgets that pull the stuff that AI plays a role into. We're not really doing those kind of projects yet. However, we definitely got to be aware that there are certain roles that AI are definitely starting to replace in droves. And as Christians, we need to be aware of that and how it affects us, because we don't want to all of a sudden wake up one day and find that our specific skill set is obsolete. We have to continue to adapt and maybe even expand our knowledge base so we have other positions that we know how to do really well. But in terms of production, I don't think we're going to be seeing AI direct a scene. Like, as a director, the performance comes from a collaboration between two human beings, the actor and the director. The director has to be able to emotionally connect with the actor and help the actor connect with the story and the character they're playing. That's all human understanding and human beings connecting on an emotional level, which AI cannot duplicate. So, and there is that concern that AI could start to, replicate actors and stuff like that. And it can replicate a fed performance, but that performance has to come from somewhere. It can't just be typed in. And we're seeing a lot of new AI videos come out of, gorillas doing selfie videos with the new Google AI system. You're seeing people create whole short films with AI created actors. And while they look pretty realistic and some of the emotions are pretty good, there's still something missing. There is this lack of a soul. Yeah, it can mimic emotion, but there's not that soul feeling of believability and authenticity that comes only from a human being. And obviously, there are going to be creators out there that are going to keep trying to push that technology, push it. But what I've noticed is that the people that watch it, the comments you see, is people can still say, wow, that looks really good. It's starting to really feel believable. But there's always that thing that audiences pick up on that tells them this isn't real. And are we maybe going to get to a point where you can't tell the difference? Perhaps. And that's where the danger, I think, lies, and why you see a lot of people trying to put guardrails and boundaries in place just to protect, the work of actors and, and of people who create content. If somebody at a computer can just create these things, then that's a whole different thing to worry about. But I still say there is something not quite believable about that. And again, as Christian filmmakers, it's something we need to just be aware of that's out there, and we need to decide if that's something that we want to engage in or not. We definitely need to be understanding the technology and the tools, but we shouldn't be mastered by them. So the big question is, how, as Christian filmmakers, can AI help us during production? We've already kind of talked about what it can do in pre-production, but in production itself, I think, from my perspective, AI is great for helping us cut costs, improving our time efficiency, but it can't replace the human factor. It's great for helping in logistical planning. I think, especially when you're dealing with independent film projects, time is everything. And if you could use AI to help you save time, so you could, get more shots in a day, get through more pages in a day, or, you could free up time to focus on a scene that really needs to have just that extra time to get the emotional performance correct, or to get a big camera move correct, that's where AI is a great tool. But I think we just have to have some wisdom about how we employ AI on our sets. The third thing I want to bring up is more post-informative question of where does it matter the most that there are human beings present when you're on set? And I think this comes down to some of the concerns that are out there, obviously, of people's likeness and vocal performance being used without consent. Obviously, you got crew positions where, machinery can be programmed, it can replicate movement time and time again. I mean, even for actors connecting to a character that's maybe not there because it's being generated by AI and a visual effects team either in the moment or later on in post-production. And I think as Christian filmmakers, we need to be aware that our presence on set can be a positive influence on the entire cast and crew, depending on what our role is. But as believers, we're called to be lights unto the world. We are called to be a reflection of God's goodness and of God's love. And so our mere presence on a set is important, and how we treat others on set is super important and something to keep in mind. As a director, my job is to be emotionally there for my actors, to support them when they're struggling to get through a performance or to get through a line, to help guide them to find that emotional truth in what they're saying and even how they're physically moving. It's my role as the director to guide my camera team into the kind of shots I want to get, because I am helping guide the eye of the audience and letting them see what part of the story in the scene that's happening in the story that I want them to see. The camera operators, they're working with their director of photography, and that's human communication of trying to find the right emotions that come from the lighting, the actual camera movement, how it works in relationship to how the actors move. These are all human relationships and how the team works together to tell a story. And that comes from human beings working together. And so I think the human being presence on sets is so vitally important. And as we've stated earlier, AI cannot duplicate human connectivity. And as believers working with sometimes crews and casts that are made up of believers, they can't connect on that level. We can't minister to each other. We cannot pray for, AI cannot pray for an individual going through a hard time. One of the things I'm hoping to do on my next project with the actors that I know are believers is before we start our day, I want to go off set with them and just pray that we have a good, productive day. I want to pray with my director of photography and pray that he can lead his team well. That's something AI can't do. It's something that AI can't understand because it wasn't created by God. It was created by human beings. And, as we continue to grow in our understanding of AI and how we can use it, we shouldn't lose sight of that as Christians, as believers, as image bearers of God, we are called to interact with each other, to support each other, to be a reflection of God. And hopefully, how we treat others shines brightly to maybe those on our teams that are not believers. And it makes them wonder what makes us stand out, what makes us different. Because they can feel that. AI can't replicate any of that. AI can't replicate how we treat other people. And so, as we wrap this episode up, I want you to consider that maybe the most important thing you could be on a set is just to be there and to be present. AI can't replicate our presence. So to wrap it up in terms of what is AI's role on set, I think a good way to summarize it is that it's great to have AI be around set, helping you set everything up for when you get to set, but AI should be used in a limited capacity actually on the set. It should be only used for very specific tasks, because telling a story, as I've covered before, is a very human thing, and it comes from human beings working together in different capacities to tell that story. So AI should be off to the side. It should not be the main driver on set. So I'm curious, and feel free to leave a comment below. How have you used AI in pre-production? How have you used it on set? Or even how have you used it in post-production? Feel free to comment down below. In the next episode, we're going to tackle the big question is, as Christian filmmakers and content creators, should we resist AI? Should we stay away from it? Or is there a compromise that we can make in terms of how we incorporate it into our workflows that still allows us to be right with God and right in our profession? And, are we making sure we're not being taken advantage of by AI, or even worse, becoming slaves to AI? So if you like this episode, please feel free to hit that like button, subscribe if you're liking the content of this channel, and I will see you in our concluding episode of AI and filmmaking. And as always, keep the faith and keep on filmmaking.